In the immediate aftermath of the crash, senior BA managers had angered the French by questioning the professionalism of Air France.
French accused of engineering plane's demise. Senior BA manager said, "We know that the French are not keen on flying Concorde, any combination of human error and possible management lapses that contributed to the fault that caused the crash."
They wanted absolutely to prove that it's the crew, it's Air France maintenance, it's the French administration, it's everybody else but not Concorde.
But retired Concorde pilot John Hutchinson felt he had good reason to be asking questions about Air France. 33 years ago, Hutchinson had been crew on a Boeing 707 when its wing, like that on the Concorde, burst into flames at takeoff. The pilot managed to keep the plane in the air for 4 minutes and then landed, saving 121 lives. What Hutchinson wanted to know was why the much more powerful Concorde had not been able to stay in the air for more than 90 seconds.
If they'd been able to stay in the air for just a little bit longer, the source of that fire would have been extinguished, the fuel would have all gone out of the tank, and it's, again, speculation, but it's not unreasonable to assume that they might then have been able to land at Le Bourget or back at Charles de Gaulle.
Hutchinson scrutinized the crash reports, and what he found confirmed some of his fears.
Analysis made it very clear to me that there's much more to this accident than any design failure within the airplane.
He discovered that Air France engineers had serviced the crashed plane a few days before the accident and forgotten to put back a significant piece of the undercarriage, the spacer.
The spacer, which the French accident investigation has revealed was missing in the left-hand undercarriage leg, fulfilled various functions, but one of its key functions was to keep the front and rear wheels locked in a proper alignment. Without that spacer there, those wheels had the ability to skew around and wobble about, a bit like the wheels on a supermarket trolley.
Hutchinson was sure that once the tyre had burst, the absence of the spacer had been a critical factor.
There were 3 tyres fully inflated, 1 tyre deflated. The whole undercarriage wheel assembly skewed around, wobbling like your wheels on the supermarket trolley, and the aeroplane at that stage started veering off to the left. The left-hand undercarriage actually took out a runway light, and you can well imagine at this stage the captain thinking, "My God, I'm about to go off into the grass," and the airplane staggered into the air well below a safe airborne speed.
And he was convinced that had the spacer not been missing, the plane would have stayed on the runway, taken off at a higher speed, and have had a realistic chance of flying its way out of trouble. What is more, he discovered other factors that had compromised the plane's power. Air France had loaded too much baggage onto the plane. It had taken off with a tailwind, and the flight engineer, in Hutchinson's opinion, had turned off an engine unnecessarily. His theory, a serious indictment of the professionalism of Air France, was published in a major newspaper feature.
I've reluctantly and sadly come to the conclusion that that accident was to a very large extent caused by failures in maintenance and operational procedures within Air France, which is it gives me absolutely no joy or pleasure to say that, but I can reach no other conclusion.
Hutchinson's research raises worrying questions about Air France, but at the moment the only universally accepted cause of the accident is the burst tyre.
If you allowed me, I should say a word about Mr. Hutchinson. Mr. Hutchinson presumes. I think I am a professional. I only take care about facts.
I would like to emphasize very strongly that I'm referring to facts stated in these accident reports.
I think when you are in love, you are completely irrational. And it appears to me to be the case of Mr. Hutchinson with Concorde.